The hospital basement was colder than anyone remembered, not because of the air conditioning, but because every hallway carried whispers. Nurse Emily Carter had worked there only 3 weeks, long enough to become the favorite target of sarcastic jokes. She was quiet, soft-spoken, and never argued when senior staff pushed impossible tasks onto her shoulders. To them she was invisible, the perfect person to blame whenever something went wrong. That morning a decorated military service K-9 named Ranger had been declared dead after shielding his wounded handler during a violent hostage rescue. Soldiers stood outside the emergency department with silent faces while doctors rushed to save the handler upstairs. Ranger's body was transferred to the basement until military officials arrived. Then the cruelest joke of all began. Someone has to stay with the dog. One nurse laughed. Emily likes talking to patients who can't answer. Another doctor smirked. Perfect assignment. Keep the dead hero company. The room filled with laughter while Emily silently accepted the keys. She walked into the dim storage room where Ranger rested beneath a clean gray blanket. His fur was still brushed. His tactical harness remained attached. Even in death he looked proud. Emily closed the door behind her and sat beside him. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "You deserved better than becoming someone's joke." For several minutes nothing happened except silence. Then Emily noticed something strange. Ranger's left paw was tightly curled around a tiny strip of blood-stained fabric hidden beneath his chest. Carefully she loosened his paw. The fabric contained an embroidered military insignia and a handwritten number. It was not part of his harness. Before she could study it further, she heard a faint metallic clicking sound. Click, pause, click. Her eyes narrowed. The sound wasn't coming from the hallway. It was coming from Ranger's vest. Emily immediately unfastened the tactical harness. Hidden inside was a damaged emergency locator blinking weakly beneath the armor plates. Most people would have ignored it, assuming it had been destroyed during the mission. Emily had served years earlier as a combat medic before choosing civilian nursing, and she recognized the signal instantly. It wasn't simply transmitting a location. It was broadcasting an emergency distress code that activated only when classified mission evidence remained unrecovered. Her heartbeat accelerated. Someone had hidden something inside Ranger's equipment. Just as she reached into the concealed compartment, the basement lights suddenly went dark, and heavy footsteps echoed outside the locked door. Emily froze, listening as the footsteps stopped directly outside the storage room. A man's voice came through the darkness. "Open the door, military recovery team." His tone sounded rehearsed, almost impatient. Emily glanced at the blinking locator again. Every instinct told her something was wrong. Real recovery teams never arrived without identification or paperwork, especially for a decorated service K-9. Instead of answering, she quietly slipped the blood-stained fabric into her pocket and reached inside the hidden compartment beneath Ranger's vest. Her fingers touched a waterproof metal capsule no larger than a thumb. She had barely removed it when the door handle rattled violently. "Last warning," the voice barked. The emergency lights flickered on just long enough for Emily to see 3 armed figures through the narrow window. None wore official military insignia. She stepped backward. The lock exploded. The men rushed inside, but before they reached her, a thunderous alarm echoed through the hospital. Upstairs, the wounded Navy special operator had suddenly gone into cardiac arrest, triggering a full emergency response. The distraction bought Emily only seconds. She darted through a side maintenance passage she had discovered during her first week, clutching the capsule against her chest. The strangers chased her through the narrow corridor until security officers appeared at the opposite end. The men disappeared as quickly as they had come, blending into the chaos before anyone could stop them. Emily didn't celebrate. She ran straight to the intensive care unit where the wounded operator fought for his life. Doctors crowded around the bed. "He's crashing. We're losing him." Emily looked at the patient's face and stopped cold. It was Commander Nathan Brooks. Years earlier, during a humanitarian deployment overseas, she had served beside him as a combat medic. He had once carried her through enemy fire after she was injured. Everyone believed she had left military service forever after that mission. Nathan's pulse vanished. The room erupted with panic. Emily stepped forward. "I know his injuries. Let me help." A senior surgeon blocked her path. "You're just the basement nurse. Stay out of this." Before she could argue, Nathan's military identification bracelet slipped from his wrist. Attached to it was the missing half of the torn fabric, now hidden inside Emily's pocket. She matched the pieces together instinctively. A code appeared. Not a name, not coordinates. A secure authorization phrase. At that exact moment, Nathan's eyes opened for a single second. He looked directly at Emily, whispered only 2 words. "Protect. Ranger." Then his heart monitor went flat again. The shrill tone of the flatline silenced every voice in the intensive care unit. For one terrifying heartbeat, nobody moved. Then Emily pushed past the stunned surgeon and began giving calm, precise orders with the confidence of someone who had faced death before. "Resume compressions. Prepare epinephrine. Increase oxygen. He's not gone yet." The staff hesitated until the chief anesthesiologist recognized the authority in her voice and nodded. Seconds later, the room became a perfectly coordinated battle against time. Emily remembered every injury Nathan had suffered years earlier and realized the explosion had reopened an old weakness near his heart. While everyone focused on the obvious trauma, she noticed a hidden internal bleed. She guided the surgeons to the exact location, and within moments they controlled it. The monitor suddenly flashed. One weak heartbeat became two. Then a steady rhythm filled the room. Nathan was alive. The doctors stared at Emily in disbelief. The same people who had laughed at her hours earlier now understood they had nearly ignored the one person capable of saving him. Before anyone could speak, military police stormed into the hospital. Their commander examined the torn insignia, the hidden capsule, and the blinking locator. His expression changed instantly. "Seal every exit," he ordered. The people who came for this dog were never part of the military. The capsule was opened inside a secure room. Instead of money or weapons, it contained a tiny encrypted drive. The files revealed evidence that a criminal network had been stealing military medical technology and selling soldiers' identities to foreign buyers. Ranger had protected the evidence with his life, knowing his handler might not survive the mission. Nathan's final request had never been about saving a dog. It had been about protecting the truth Ranger carried. Within hours, coordinated arrests took place across the city. The imposters who had entered the hospital were captured before they could escape. The operation that had endangered countless service members was finally destroyed. The next morning, the hospital gathered in complete silence. The same basement where Emily had been humiliated was now filled with soldiers, nurses, doctors, and Ranger's fellow handlers. Nathan, still recovering, slowly entered with assistants. He walked directly to Emily, saluted her, and said, "Heroes don't always wear uniforms. Sometimes they wear scrubs." No one laughed this time. Ranger received full military honors, and Emily was publicly recognized for her courage, skill, and refusal to abandon hope when everyone else had given up. The nurse they mocked became the reason lives were saved, criminals were exposed, and a fallen K-9's final mission was completed. Some people measure greatness by rank or reputation. Others discover it only when compassion refuses to surrender. If Ranger's unforgettable story touched your heart, subscribe for more powerful stories of courage, sacrifice, and ordinary people proving they are extraordinary when the world needs them most.